So I guess we'll kick it right off.
Dude.
How you been? I talked to you 2 weeks ago. You were in Mexico. How
I
was that?
was. We were down there for a month,
Okay.
and
Every February, right?
it was very very nice, and we've been back about a week, I guess.
Okay.
And, so
You are glowing a little
was,
bit. You got the tan.
well, the lows every day were about 68, and the highs were about 85. So it was pretty nice.
Which city?
Enjoying that weather down there.
Same one you're always going
It's
to?
well, just the last couple of years we've started going here. A place called Huatuco,
West Coast?
West Coast, maybe 150 miles north of the Guatemalan border.
Gotcha. So east of Condo?
Yeah.
What east of Condo?
Oh, it's no. So it's way south of Cabo. Cabo's on the peninsula, that Baja California,
Yeah.
right there. This is, 500 or more miles south of there.
Yeah. I love it.
We're way down there. It's beautiful. Low crime.
I bet.
Gorgeous landscaping and the mountains and then the beach and it's really nice. In fact, I'll show you.
No, I love good Mexico pictures. I was in Cabo with my grandpa a few years ago. I just loved it out there so much.
So I'll just show you a couple of these.
Yeah.
If I can figure out how to do this. All photos. Yeah, there we go. All right, so this is sitting on our. So we bought a condo down there.
Oh.
Yeah, and this is sitting on my back porch. If I can find it here. Well, let me just show you that. Let me show you the area.
Yeah.
So, this is Huatuco.
Sheesh.
It looks like a
That's
Microsoft.
postcard.
That is my favorite beach right there. It's Playa Entrega. We usually hang out right there. But you can see the mountains. They come right down to the, pretty close to the, that's Playa Entrega right there. That's where we like to hang out.
These pics are unreal.
Yeah. There it is right there. So you can snorkel right out to the reefs. Those are reefs right there. And then there's right over here, there's a little beach, just a little secluded beach. You can see people snorkeling over there. But this is looking, so the last morning there, I taught Peggy, and she didn't like to get up early. I talked her into getting up and watching the sunrise. Now, you'd think on the West Coast you wouldn't see the sunrise, but because of the way Mexico comes down and curves around, and where we are, the beach is actually facing southeast.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And so the last morning there, I said, look, come, because I'm always up early. I said, come walk to the beach across the street from us and watch the sun come up. So we went over there and we're watching the sun come up. Had our coffee with us. There's the beach right there. And as you can see the beach, the sun's coming right up through that little deal there. Yeah, there it's coming up. Isn't that beautiful?
Man.
And so then I said, all right, I'm gonna, from the same spot, I'm gonna turn around and there's the mountains.
Mm.
So the beach is right here and there's the mountains and there's our condo right there.
So you got the best of both
sweet.
worlds.
Yeah, so we see, when the way we look out, we see these mountains right here. If I look around this way, I see the water, I see the marina. But anyway, a little town of about 15,000, basically zero crime.
Mm-hmm. Is it a lot of
Usually-
locals or?
Well, you got a lot of Canadians coming down there.
Interesting.
Okay. Not many from the U.S. though, but yeah, mostly locals.
Mm-hmm.
But almost zero crime. Like we can walk into the little town, about a half-mile walk for us. We'll walk in there for dinner and walk back at 10 o'clock at night and never worry about a thing.
That's great.
Completely safe down
That's
there.
awesome.
So we just go out and we either hang out by the pool or we go to the beach, and there's 15 coves like the one you saw.
Yeah.
and 23 beaches in about a 3-mile stretch. Yeah.
You gotta send me those pictures. Those pictures look so good.
That's
like
beautiful.
they look fake.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I got you.
But jumping right into it, when I know you graduated from UNC Chapel Hill, what made you get into coaching?
Malik, my high school coaches had an impact on my life. It's funny, I was a terrible student in high school. I was the kind of guy that I get upset with now,
Right.
you know, because I can see right through them. I just, kind of a funny story. I'd go and they'd issue you a locker and a locker combination at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go put my books in there, and at the end of the year, I had to ask them what my combination was to get my books out.
Oh,
I mean, but I loved football.
Right.
I love football. It's always been my love. And so I actually, near the end of my senior year in high school, became a Christian. And I gave my life to the Lord, and my whole attitude just totally changed. And so I couldn't get into a 4-year college, so I went to a community college and basically made straight A's. So I went from being a D student to a straight A student. And when it got time to apply to go to a 4-year school, I applied at Florida State, because I grew up in Miami. I applied at Florida State, Ole Miss, and UNC. And Florida State and Ole Miss accepted me. UNC said, we'll accept you, but you gotta change your major. So my major was physical education. And I wrote them a letter back, handwritten letter, and said, I'll change my major, but after the first semester, I'm gonna change it back to phys ed. And they wrote me a letter and said, you're accepted in phys ed. And it was a miracle, literally a miracle that I got into UNC because of my high school grades. And only 6% of the student body at UNC is from out of state. And so it was just basically, it was a miracle that that's where the Lord wanted me. Mm-hmm. I met Peggy there, and we got married. We've been married for 48 years.
That's awesome.
And 6 children, 13 grandchildren.
Okay.
And you know, I just always loved football. And you know, I tried to do a good job teaching, but I only taught so I could coach. You know?
Right.
And but you know, I always preach to the players that you got to win at everything you do. And so, you know, I tried to do a great job in the classroom. And of course, later on in my career, I was in the weight room all day. And you know how I ran the weight room, so it was it was like a drill sergeant.
Yes.
And but I always expected excellence out of my players, and I tried to give them excellence. But my motivation, honestly, was always football.
Definitely molded me into what I am today. Honestly, without you, I attribute a lot of that to you. Definitely growing up without a dad, it's just like you look for something, whether that be good or bad. But I was blessed to have you come into my life.
Well, I'm proud of you, buddy. Proud of what you're doing with your life.
Yes, sir. So, I guess bringing it back to the early days at 2014 when you first came back to JF, what prompted you to leave North Hall to come back to JF?
Well, North Hall was an awesome program. When I went there, they had a .26 winning percentage over 47 years. So they averaged 2.5 games a year over 47 years and made the playoffs one time in those 47 years. And out of 74 AAA schools at the time, they were AAA ed, they were number 70. Excuse me, out of 75 AAA schools, they were number 74. So they were the second worst program, and number 75 only played a JV schedule. It was a first-year school, and that, so really North Hall was the worst program in the state. And you know, we became the 5th winningest program in the state of Georgia over a 10-year period. And we were the only multi-school county that made the playoffs. I think it was 5 years in a row. We were the only one in the state. And so I loved my time at North Hall. But I got a phone call from up here. So my daughter, T.C., was living up here. My son, Robbie, was pastoring a church in Richmond. And Harold Jones called me and said, hey, the JF job just opened. He had been an assistant principal there when I coached there the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And we were good friends. And he said, hey, the JF job just opened up. Why don't you consider coming on back up here? And I told him, I said, Harold, if this was a few years later, I said, I bought some years into Georgia. And so I said, you know, I got 20 with a year of sick leave and what I bought in. I got 27 years in Georgia. I really need to get 3 more. I said, so next time it's open, call me and I'll take retirement in Georgia and I'll come up there and do that. And so they stayed after me. And they said, would you at least come up and talk to us? So Tony Francis was the principal at the time. And so I said, all right, I'll come up and talk to you. And it was an opportunity for me to see my daughter who was living up here. And so I came up and just one thing led to another. They kept on going. I ended up taking retirement in Georgia and moving up here. And so I could kind of double dip, and I was taking my Georgia retirement and then I was working full time. And so we were able to bank some money toward retirement, you know, actual retirement. And so then, and maybe I'm getting a little ahead, but you know, then after 5 years at JF, I was going to retire from Virginia. So I had gotten back into the retirement system and added my years, and I was going to take Virginia retirement. And so I was going to, that group with Keenan and those guys, they were going to be seniors the next year. We had just beaten Salem in the playoffs.
I was there.
Yeah. And we had most of those guys coming back. We were losing Marvin and a couple of guys, but we had most of them coming back. And it was a big group. I think it was about 25 of them coming back. And so I had already told them at JF that I was going to retire in January. I was going to coach first semester, 1 more year, and then I was going to retire. And superintendent at Amherst County, you know, talked to me about coming out to Amherst and basically kind of put together a package that I thought would really be good, because what it allowed me to do was to go half-time, to work the first semester, and then to travel to do what I wanted the second semester. And so I got them to hire Coach Landis as my assistant head coach. And then they hired Matt and Kevin, my 2 youngest sons.
Brought Coach Shane down there.
And I brought Shane down there. And so I was able to put together a super staff. And then some of the guys that I was able to hire that I didn't know, some of the best coaches that I've had. So anyway, unfortunately, it was after that first year COVID hit. You know, we had, the first year we made some strides. We were not very good, but we made some strides. And then in the off-season program, I started a program, we called it Football U at A-Town. And we had, you know, we had criteria set up for every position, the drills, and so also we had 110 kids in the off-season program.
Is that, what age range was that? Is that like the feeder?
Ninth.
Gotcha.
Ninth through,
Gotcha.
through rising 9th through 12th graders.
Similar to like Minnesota,
but it was in the off season. Yeah, it was in the off season. Now, we kept doing Minnesota in the summer.
Right.
But this was in the off season.
Okay.
Those kids that weren't involved in other sports, we had 110 signed up. And they shut us down after 2 days of that. The school closed. They shut the school down.
Oh, yeah.
And we literally went from 110 to 55 that next season.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we had some kids that had gotten jobs because they weren't in school, so they got jobs, and then they didn't want to give up that money coming in.
I mean, that affected football programs around the
did.
state for couple of
Well,
years.
no doubt.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them would sit up all night playing video games and sleep all day,
Mm.
and they got lazy.
Mm.
You know, they didn't want to come out. You know what Minnesota's like.
Yeah.
They don't want to come out and do that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for us trying to get a program turned around, I think it was doubly bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because we felt like we had it turned around. 110 kids, we had made great strides. But then COVID hit us, and you know, we had that winter season and all of that stuff. And then my fourth year there, which was my last year there, we were 5-0 at mid-season. But then we lost a close one to Brookville. We lost a close one to Glass. Felt like we could have won both of those.
Against kids who had transferred out, right?
We did. We actually, it's interesting, we actually had 10 potential starters that we ended up not playing with that year, and we were still 5-0 at midseason. But you know, we had 2 kids that I can think of that had a chance to start and really contribute, that decided that they were just going to play baseball. We had a couple of the kids that got jobs and didn't want to give them up. And then I had to kick off a couple of players. And then I had a kid at the end of the summer. We were done with everything. Transferred to Brookville.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a kid transfer to LCA. And we had, then we had a kid that I was going to move him to tackle, and he didn't like that. And
Good team.
and he went to EC Glass.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up being a total of 10 players that we were counting on that we went without. But the kids had a great attitude. They stepped it up, and we were playing some pretty good football. And I probably should have hung in there one more year with that group. But I thought, you know, it was 48 years of doing it, and my wife had been a great coach's wife, but I thought it was not fair to her. And I thought it was time to go see grandkids and to travel a little bit and that type of thing. So I went ahead and retired.
48 years. Some people don't even live to see 48 years old.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
When you leave a bit of a legacy going on, how's Kevin doing?
Kevin is doing great. Now they're not winning. They didn't win much this year.
He told me it was a tough season.
Yeah,
But they were in the wheels of the rebuild.
they are.
I kind of likened it to what JF was doing a few years ago.
Yeah.
When they were kind of at the start of their rebuild with Cruz.
Right.
How have you liked what you saw out of them this
Good.
season? Because I know I saw
Yeah.
you on the sideline at that 30th anniversary state
Yeah.
championship
Yeah.
game, and you were tuned in like you were still coaching
Yeah.
down there in the corner of the sideline.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, and in fact, I'm meeting with JT tomorrow to talk about some things that he wanted to know on how we did some things in fundraising, and so we're going to meet. And so I'm real thrilled that JF has got it going on right again. It's I spent, between the 2 times at JF, I spent 15 years there.
Mhm.
So of the 45 as a head coach, I spent 15, a third of that time at JF.
Are you the type of guy that ideas come to your head, or like how do you get these, like the men of summer and like the fundraising, like how does all that kind of come into your head and you make it happen?
Well, sometimes I come up with them. Sometimes an assistant coach will come up with them.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll see someone else is doing something similar, and I figure out how we can do it better, or we try to do it better. And, it's interesting, the Men of Summer, I started that at JF when I was there in the 80s and 90s. And I saw a poster one time, it had about 10 Tennessee players. This is before players were spending their whole summer on campus.
Yeah.
Tennessee, it was about 10 or 15 of their players on a poster that had spent the summer there working out. They called it Boys of Summer. And I said, well, I don't really like Boys of Summer. I'm going to call it Men of Summer. And so way back, about 1990, we started that. And everywhere I went, we did that. And I always felt like, it gave us an advantage over other people, because back then, in the 90s and even in the early 2000s, coaches were just opening the weight room up, putting a program on the board, and assigning a coach, rotating coaches in there to basically supervise it. And I was requiring all of my coaches, there were 10 of us out on the field every morning at 7 o'clock, all summer long, for an hour of speed and agility, an hour of football, and an hour in the weight room. And we did it, 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, from 7 to 10:30 in the morning. So the players had to make a commitment, to get up early in the summer and not go to the late, but get up and come to practice, give up jobs or go to work after they finished men of summer. The coaches, when I would interview coaches and hire coaches, I was up front with them then. You're not getting paid for this, but this is what you will do. And so by Thursday afternoon, you can go take little mini vacations if you want, but be ready to go Monday. And I always gave the players off 2 weeks from the time school. Most people don't. Most people give the kids off 1 week or none. I would give them off 2 weeks to take family vacations and that type of thing. And then we'd start men of summer about the middle of June, and we'd go 6 weeks of it. But we would have nearly 100% participation in that for 6 weeks, 24 days of it. And now everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
But back then,
I think we were probably the only program.
back then we probably were, And even in Georgia, when I started, they weren't doing that in Georgia. Now everybody in Georgia's doing it. But we had a program at North Hall called Order of the Sword. And if a player played his 9th grade year, made men of summer after 9th grade, played 10th grade, made men of summer, played 11th grade, made men of summer, and played his senior year. So he was a 4-year player with the 4 years of men of summer, or 3 years, after 9th, after 10th, after 11th. He would be inducted into the Order of the Sword. And after his freshman year, he got a certificate saying he was inducted in. Then after his sophomore year, he got a dagger in a shadow box, a real dagger with his name engraved on it. After, he got a sheath to a sword with his name on it. He got a dagger his junior year if he played, and if he played all 4 years, he got a sword, a medieval sword in this big shadow box with his name engraved on it. And then his name went up in the field house. We had a huge size of that wall there, Order of the Sword, and each year's inductees in it. And we'd have a big banquet at the end of the year for the inductees. And so what ended up happening, we started having a lot of 4-year players, kids that played every year, and we started having, 30 to 35 seniors, And so that's how we kind of turned that program around. But that idea came from one of my coaches. He was my outside linebacker coach, and it was our first year there, and they were terrible and weak, and he came up with the idea, and then we kind of developed it. So, some of the things, I steal from other people, and some of the things you come up with, and our offense totally unique, the wishbone.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
Totally unique, and myself and a coach that I coached with when I was coaching at Liberty University way back, kind of developed that. So.
I was gonna ask, was the college coaching not as fun or not as fulfilling as high school coaching?
Yeah. So, for me, Malik, it wasn't real consistent. My children, having a Christian family, raising my kids right, and doing my part as a husband and a father has always been real important to me. And back then, we were trying to transition from NAIA to 1AA Division I, which we did my last year there. But as an NAIA school, we were not curtailed in our recruiting or anything like that. And even in NCAA back then, they didn't hold coaches off the road like they do now. So I was constantly on the road recruiting, in season and off season. And I used to go and I'd feel guilty, just about not being at home. And so Coach Dowling, who was the head coach at the time, said, hey, LCA needs a football coach. When you're down in Florida recruiting, would you ask around and see if you can find anyone interested in this job? So while I was down there, it just started thinking, you know what, I'll take that job. So I came back and told Coach Dowling I'd found a coach for him. And he said, who? And I said, me. And so I resigned at Liberty as an assistant coach and became the head coach at LCA for 7 years.
Did y'all run the bone there too? Or?
We did.
You wrote a book on the wishbone too?
No, I actually wrote a book on defending the wing tee.
With the split 4-4?
With the split 4-4. Myself and my defensive coordinator wrote it. I have spoken at numerous clinics on our wishbone, and it's my favorite offense. Although all the way up through 2011 at North Hall, we ran the wing tee, and I just got bored. And when the head coach gets bored, everybody gets bored.
Yeah.
I mean, if you lose your energy, that filters down. And so I said, well, we're going to shake it up. And we went to the wishbone in 2012, my son Kevin's senior year. And we played in the state semifinal game and led the whole state of Georgia in scoring in 2012.
I guess that's where you build the confidence of running the wishbone no matter what. It'd be like 4th and 16, and you're calling like 26 blast. I'm like, how? And we convert.
Yeah.
It's like crazy.
I remember, I don't remember if it was 14 or 15. You graduated after the 14 season, right?
Right.
I can't remember if it was 14 or 15, but it was right before half. This happened numerous times, but I remember this one. I think we were playing Woodgrove or someone like that. And it was right before half, and it was a third down. It was 3rd and like 15. And we spread them out and ran a 20 trap. And Mo Jones went like 65 yards for a touchdown as the clock ran out. And but yeah, my philosophy has been throw it when they expect you to run it, and run it when they expect you to throw it. So we'd throw it on first down,
right.
A lot. And we'd run it on 3rd down a lot, And but it's been real good to me. As you know, I think in 2014 or 15, maybe both years, I think we led the state of Virginia in scoring with the wishbone also, yeah.
Being number 1 in the state, it was coming from like a 4-6 season to just 10-0 leading state. It all just happened so fast. It was just like surreal.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I inherited a good group of young men. You guys, and you guys were ready to make a commitment. And I always demand a tremendous amount from the players, and you guys could have resisted, and that wouldn't have happened, but you didn't. You bought in, and sometimes it's tough when you take over a program to get the seniors to buy in. It really is. And I've taken over, my first year at North Hall, I had a hard time getting the seniors to buy in.
I bet. And so it was a culture shift, I'm sure.
It's a major culture shift. And but you guys bought in, and we had some good players. And then, of course, we're out at Minnesota one day, and we had just finished Minnesota. You remember we were on the
Rocket Top.
We were over there at the elementary school across the street.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah.
Doing Minnesota. And I'm on the phone because I'm trying to talk to how we're going to move my stuff up here. And Peggy's still down in Georgia. And I look over, and there were 2 guys standing over there talking to the coaches. So I walked over, and Mo Jones, I recognized him immediately. And Mo had played for me at Jefferson Forest back, I think he graduated in 89 maybe, or 89 he graduated. is Mo Jones, and he had his son, Navy. And Navy looked like he was about 12 years old. I mean, and so, you know, Mo says, Coach, I want my son to play for you. And I said, you know, I told him, where do you go to school now, and where are you living, and all of that. And he said, well, we're you know, we moved in with my mother, and she's in the JF attendance zone. And I said, well, you're gonna have to go to the school and make sure that everything's up front. And if you enroll in school, I'll coach your son, you know. And so he starts talking about how good his son is. And Mo was a great player.
Yeah.
Mo was a great player. And I'm thinking, there is no way this kid that looks 12 years old.
That same 12-year-old had multiple state rings in track and basketball and won football too. So he might have looked 12, but he was winning.
Yes, boy, I tell you what, I still think as far as vision, and he's best back I've ever coached as far as being able to see the field. And of course we had Cam returning. Yeah. And Cam was probably, Navy was the best back in the area. Cam was probably the second best back in the area.
I agree.
And one of them rushed for 2,000 yards and one of them 1,500 yards. So, you know, we had.
I thought Cam was always underrated. I think he did a really, really good job.
He did, but yeah, people thought, you know, they talked about Navy and they didn't talk about Cam. Well, Cam weighed 185, 190 pounds, you know. He was a heck of a back. So, yeah, so anyway, I inherited some really good players that bought in, and of course the coaching staff we had was all in and doing whatever they had to do, and it's just one of those things that just kind of came together.
Have you followed any of those other coaches kind of as your coaching tree evolved? Because I know it was Martin was on that staff, was Deloach was on that staff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked with both of them this past season at Rockridge and Alta Vista.
Yeah.
And Deloach came really close.
Yeah.
So
Now Deloach didn't coach with me. I
Okay.
offered him a job. He ended up not coaching with me. Of course, Martin did.
Yeah.
I went up and watched him in the summer, this past summer. Shane and I drove up
They
and watched
told
him
him they're running
practice.
the bone,
Yeah,
trying to tie in the loose ends.
Yeah.
They should have a good year just coming up here.
good. I know they struggled this year a little bit.
We'll have them on film.
Yeah.
So we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Mark did a great job, and he was off the previous staff. And I think he might have been the only coach off the previous staff that we ended up with, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Yeah, and he did a fantastic job for us, and I think the world of him.
We still do.
Yeah.
Shout out Coach Cox.
Yeah, shout out Coach Cox. Absolutely. What do you think about all this high school NIL stuff that is thrown into the mix? What are your thoughts on that? Are you old school on it, or?
I'm old school.
I think
am.
I
You
respect
know,
that, yeah.
it's I'm one of those guys that think that college football is being ruined, and you know, I've got a coaching buddy of mine. He was a player of mine, and then he coached with me, and then he became a head coach, and he has probably the winningest coach in the state of Florida, and then he went up to Georgia, and he's one of the winningest coaches.
The Miami area?
No, he was actually up in Jacksonville area.
Gotcha.
That's where I ended up coaching, was in Gainesville.
Because I know Miami's a hotbed. I'm a big we're Lamar Jackson
Right.
fans.
Yeah. So I coached in Gainesville, Florida, and then I ended up coaching in Gainesville, Georgia. Kind of funny, but
Too bad you didn't make it to Gainesville, Virginia.
yeah, that's right. It's Gainesville, Virginia.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were talking the other day, and he said, "Coach, I got eight more wins, and I hit 400 wins." And he said, I don't know if I can make it. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "It is total chaos in Florida."
Oof.
He said, "Players can transfer anywhere they want to, and they're immediately eligible."
Mm-hmm.
He said, let's say you lose in the first round of the playoffs, they can transfer to a school that's still in the playoffs, and they're eligible immediately.
That's the Wild West for sure.
Wow.
And there's no loyalty at all. And he said, I had a player that went to watch a state championship game, after we were out of it, they lost in the quarterfinals, I think. Went to watch a state championship game. The coaches that were on the field saw him in the stands and invited him down on the sideline to watch the game. And he, it's just wrong. And so that's going on down there. And he says, I'm going to hang in here and I'm going to get my 400 wins. And he said, I'm retiring. And I just don't think players are going to learn the lessons from football and being in a good program that they would have learned. Well, I think what you're going to get is if a player doesn't like your style of offense or defense, or you get on him too hard, or you discipline him for something, I'm going over there, So I think that, to me, football has always been a vehicle to teach young men how to approach life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that all of that's going to get totally short-circuited. And it's not going to be the great tool to teach young men how to be good citizens and how to be men and successful that it's been for all of these years.
Just how can you get tough if you're transferring out as soon as you switch positions or get benched or get disciplined?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's my take on it. It makes me wonder if that's why Nick Saban didn't get out.
Sure.
So I'm sure everybody will adjust and it'll keep going, but I think it's lost its value as a builder of young men.
Mm-hmm. Well, coming off of that, Malik said you were doing some leadership development recently.
So I have always been into leadership development, and I put together over the years a program that we did. We did it with you guys, and it was some stuff from John Maxwell or Urban Meyer's book Above the Line, just different stuff. I would do a program called Habitudes, which is developing habits for success. And
shout out Habitudes. Shout out Pocket Change. I took
yes,
from that.
Yeah. All right, so that's probably what we did with you guys in
Yes,
2014. So I think in 2015 we started going through the book by Urban Meyer called Above the Line, which all behavior is either above the line or below the line.
Okay.
And they had a big line painted when they walked out of the locker room to go out on the field at the University of Florida.
Uh-huh.
And when you stepped over that line, your whole demeanor needed to be right. Everything needed to be right when you stepped over that line. And he'd tell his players, if you're not right, don't step over that line. And but anyway, I thought it was really good. But I've taken bits and pieces of all of it and come up with a little 12-week leadership thing that I did toward the end of my coaching career. And I don't know where that might go. If it's kind of funny. Head high school coach for 45 years, and you get to a point to where you say, do I still want to deal with all of these things that you got to deal with as a head coach? And that, coupled with, wanting to spend time with my wife and do some traveling and stuff.
And go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Your condo in Mexico's calling every time.
I retired, and but now I'm back here, and I'm thinking, what am I doing with my time? And so I'm gonna have to find something to do. I would like to do something with leadership development with people. I might help someone coach. I don't know. But I know the Lord's got something for me to do.
Did you coach Butch Jefferson
Yeah.
when he came through? So he's a big John Maxwell guy.
Yeah.
I run into him all the time,
Yeah.
and he's doing a billion different things.
Yeah.
But maybe get with him on
Yeah.
John Maxwell stuff.
Yeah.
He's like a certified Maxwell
Oh, is
coach.
he? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Butch went all the way through our program from the FYAA, Forest Youth Athletic Association, right on up. In fact, his dad, Sal and Sharon Jefferson, his sister Livy, I know them all very well.
I met his sister.
But Sal coached in our FYAA program the whole time I was at JF the first time, and he was a great builder of young men also. Butch, just first class, was able to sign with the University of Virginia.
Was he always that big?
He was always
He's
that
a
big.
tank.
He was always that big. In fact, we had 3 players there within just a few years signed with Virginia. Anthony Poindexter, of course, and then Jerton Evans. But I think Butch was first, so it was Anthony Poindexter, then Butch Jefferson, then Jerton Evans, all signed with.
It's big.
Then we had several players: Brian Jennings, Baron Spinner, Jamie Forrest, all signed with Virginia Tech. And,
those are big landing
so
spots
yeah,
for the kids.
so we had some really good players there the first time I was there also.
Yeah.
We were fortunate. We won the played for the state championship in '90 and won it in '91 and '92. So played for it, but with players like that, you can. I always say, great players will make you a good coach.
Oh yeah, you look good. You look good. We had Camden Beecraft, offensive coordinator for Emory and Henry,
Right.
and he said that he can call the best plays in the world, but the players got to go out and execute them and make him look good.
No doubt.
For calling them.
Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did.
Did you see that Travis Kelce, Andy Reid situation?
Oh yeah.
On the fumble, he was not in the game. Noah Gray went in.
What'd you do if Malik came up to you?
Because I split reps at tight end too, and I want to get my burn, but I would never do that to a coach. I don't think.
Yeah, I think that I would have said, "Go get on the bus."
We need to say
I
something.
say you're done. Get on the bus. Now I don't know what kind of relationship they had, and obviously professional football. I could have never coached professional football. Because of the relationships are totally different there, and I think Coach Reid probably handled it the best way. He didn't let it bother him. He said, I know how emotional he is, and he wanted the ball in his hands. He wanted to help us win, and you could tell after it happened, Coach Reid was just right back to coaching. He didn't
Exactly.
he didn't let it bother. But I couldn't coach on that level because of that. I would have if a player did that in high school. I'd have said, go get on the bus.
Yeah.
That's the thing I worry about. People in high school watching that, and they think this is that, and it's not at all. It's just a bunch of grown men trying to win the Super Bowl, and it's just not the same.
Well, with this transfer stuff too, like Malik Stewart had done that to me. I said, Malik, go get on the bus. You're done. Today, on Monday I'd say, where's Malik? Because I'm going to run his rear end off for what he did, and then we're going to be fine. And that, that's the way I always was with players. There are consequences to our actions. All of us in life, there's consequences, and we need to learn consequences. And so, I would run them. I'd make it hurt. I'd make them feel it, and then it was over.
Mm-hmm.
I'd put my arm around them, tell them I love them, and you're a better man than that. And next time I want you to act like a better man. Well, with the way things are now, I'd say, where's Malik on Monday? And they say, oh, Coach, he's at Brookville, or he's here, or he's there, And that's what I worry about.
Yeah.
About things that are happening. And with the NIL, so you got a real strong touchdown club or some big boosters that can come up with this money. And so you're buying players. And no longer is that loyalty to your community and to your school and to your coaches and to your brothers. Players call each other brother.
Yeah.
And then you leave your brother. Would you do that? So all that's just talk if you're willing to leave them. Yeah. And so those are the things that I worry about. I spent those years coaching, and I felt like I was making a difference.
You changed young men
in kids' lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I was never going to make a lot of money coaching, and I knew there was going to be long hours, but I felt like I was making a difference, and I'm afraid that that's going to be lost. And so I'm old school on that.
And that's fine. That's totally fine.
What do you say to those kids that were kind of like you and I, kind of the D student, to tap into that untapped potential? I know we've had a bunch of conversations, but what do you say now, like in the NIL era or this 2020 post-COVID? What do you say to kids to kind of get their butt in motion?
Well, and that's a good question, but you know, that's why we did leadership. That's why every day we talked about it, you know, that you know, life's gonna be tough, you're gonna get knocked down. But the only way to lose is to not get back up when you get knocked down. And the difference between a loser and a winner, everybody gets knocked down. The difference is the winner gets up one more time than he's been knocked down.
Yeah.
And, you know, so you use practice, and practice is grueling. I mean, it's tough, and we tried to make it tough. But you use all of that in the game of football and practice and the process of becoming. You know, we talk about the process of becoming, and you got to go through the process to become what you want to be. And there's no shortcuts. You know, you're pedaling a bike down the street, and when you quit pedaling, what happens? You gradually slow down till you come to a stop. And either you're getting better or you're getting worse. And if you're not fighting every day to get better, and we use the word intentional a lot, that when you come on the practice, you got to be intentional about every drill, about everything you do. And if you're intentional every day, you're going to get better. And so I tell players, I've always told them, I said, you can't be a sometime winner. You can't be a winner in one phase of your life and in a different phase of your life be a slacker. You know, you got to win at everything you do. And you got to, we call it intentional excellence. You got to intentionally try to be excellent at everything you do. And so for that, we run kids that get D's, and we try to teach them, you know, and I always used, you know, I never put the carrot of a scholarship in front of kids because I always felt like in high school that you play for the right reasons, and that the icing on the cake is, and you've got the numbers. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you gotta have height, you gotta have weight, you gotta have good SAT or ACT scores. So height, weight, 40, ACT, SAT, and GPA. There's 5 numbers that you gotta do. And if you'll do those 5 things, and then you got character, you know, now the intangible things, you got character, you got the work ethic, you got great game film, because you are play with total passion. So you got all those 5 numbers, and then you throw on there the passionate effort and all those things. And icing on the cake is you're gonna, so get in the process of being the right person. And if you've got the God-given ability, you'll get to play at another level. And so that's kind of what we always preached, you know, to try to bring out excellence in kids. And again, my whole thrust, you know, we tried to come up with the best schemes we could. We work all weekend to try to figure out what we need to do, and we wanted to give you guys the best chance of success on Friday night we could. That was our job. But my major goal was to get everyone in the process of becoming, you know, of striving for excellence, of trying to be the best they can be in all phases of their life. And, you know, I felt like if you did that, then the icing on the cake was going to be your win. You're going to win.
Yeah.
And then if you've got the ability, you'll get to play on the next level. So I don't know if that answered, or if I went down a rabbit trail, but
we love a good rabbit hole. It's
on
fine.
that question.
Yeah.
Are you the type of person that takes your glasses off to see?
Takes my glasses off to see.
Yeah.
No, I put mine on to see. You know, it's really when I first started wearing glasses, I hated it. And I would go out on Friday nights without my glasses. And I found out I couldn't read my play sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to ask someone what down is it, or, because I couldn't see. Yeah. I'm not sure what was behind that question.
When you're jumping someone's butt, you're just like, you
I
snap
take
your
my
glasses
glasses
on
off?
and you're just getting after them. But I was just curious about that because I'm like,
I didn't realize I did that.
Some people do take their glasses off to see or take their teeth out to eat or whatever the case may be. Turn the music down to hear when they're driving, that kind of thing.
I got you. Well, I didn't realize I took my glasses off when I was chewing on somebody.
Yeah.
You probably black out a little bit while you're doing it. You got anything else, Malik?
I think that's it. Do you have anything you want to
Yeah.
shout out or anything coming up? Or
I have been the most blessed man that I can think of to have been able to do something for 48 years that I woke up almost every morning and I couldn't wait to get into work.
Oh yeah.
And I love being around young men, and I love to try to make communities believe. And I think, and I go back, I think it was true for Jefferson Forest also, but I go back to North Hall of a group that had a .26 winning percentage over 47 years. They had a culture of losing. So not only did we have to try to change the culture of the players, but we had to change the culture of the families, the community. So the thing that was so fulfilling to me is my last year at North Hall, in 2012, my son's I was there one more year, but in 2012, we were Final Four in football, Final Four in basketball, and final in baseball. And I had every one of those kids in the weight room. And so, 5 days a week I was able to pour into those kids. And I just feel very blessed that I was able to do something that I loved for all of these years, and something that I hope made a difference in some lives, and if it did, then I feel good about those 48 years.
Yeah, stop shortchanging yourself on those 3 years. They count.
Yeah.
They
Oh
count.
yeah.
You can round up to 50 if you want.
I will tell you this, it is different being an assistant coach and being a head coach. And I've had numerous assistant coaches that become a head coach that had been with me for years. And they would always call after the first part of the season, said, "Coach, I had no idea. Everything you had to deal with, I had no idea." And I would tell them, I'd say, "Look, the first year is going to be a learning curve for you. Doesn't matter how prepared you are, it's going to be a learning curve, but you just hang in there and it's going to be all right for you." And that held true for them. So, but to be able to coach young men like Malik Stewart and a ton of others also has been a blessing to me.
Well, Coach, I'm disappointed. I missed having you as my coach by one measly year. But you coached my little brother on the JV team for a little while,
Right.
and this sweatshirt that you did for Amherst
Yeah.
was kind of a pivotal turning point, I think, in what we were doing. It springboarded us. It was so exciting to be with you for your last game ever. The footage we had from that game,
Yeah.
I'll treasure that because I just enjoyed being on the sideline in the presence with you. So I appreciate it.
Yes,
Coach.
sir, buddy.
And I really want to get down and see one of Kevin's games this
Well,
season.
you need
too.
to. He would love that.
I love it. He's so funny.
Yeah.
I texted him back and forth, and he's a good kid.
Yeah, does
Yeah.
a great job in the weight room. And the head coach was my linebacker coach at North Hall.
Oh, nice.
Down there.
Nice.
And then Matthew, my son Matt.
Mhm.
Did you know Matt? He
I-
was my
I
defensive
never
coordinator
met-
at Amherst.
I guess I did meet him then,
Okay.
but I didn't follow him.
So he's coaching down there,
Okay.
at not where Kevin is, about an hour from Kevin.
Gotcha. Which
In
direction?
Gilmer County, in the mountains, toward the mountains.
West.
Yeah, west.
Gotcha.
And they had a great year. They made it to the best season they've ever had there.
Yeah.
A guy that I played against in the playoffs several years.
You played against?
No, coached.
Okay.
I say play again. And we had a great relationship. I mean, we were very competitive, but we were, we had a respect for each other. That's who Matt's coaching for now, and he's an outstanding coach. And they had a great year this year, and Kevin and Stuart, the head coach, they're gonna turn it around.
Oh, he said they were about to take off.
Yeah.
About to take off. A couple learning curves
Yeah.
to get around, but
Yeah.
awesome. Well, yeah, we'll have to make that happen. I'd love to get down there for
Be
one
great.
of their
Be
big
great.
games.
Well, maybe we drive down there together or something.
We
Yeah.
might as well. It's a
Be
trip.
great.
It's
Yeah.
a trip.
Coach, thanks for your time.
Yes, sir, buddy.
Legendary coach Bob Christmas.
I challenge you tonight to challenge yourselves to not take one play off.
From left to right.